What is up, everyone? Chris and Sheree Gio here, coming to you from Beyond the Veil. Sheree will be joining us here in just a few minutes, but I wanted to do a show about ET Contact and Project Bluebeam. It was inspired by a comment that we got from our last show, and the listener brought up a pretty good point, and also directed me to some old information about Stephen Greer and Carol Rosen. And I'll go through the comment here in just a moment. But I figured if there's people that that are still there, we've been doing this for 13, 14 years now, and we tend to think that everybody's up to speed with everything that we've covered up to this point. And for our Patreons, we have included the Carol Rosen interview that we did on the Patreon link on April 12th of 2012, and we had Stephen Greer on back in August 30th of 2010. So it's been a long time since we've talked to them, but I had some weird feelings about both of them. Not to say that the info is wrong or anything like that, because we've seen some patterns playing out. But as we've gone through our journey here, we've seen a lot of people talking about ET Contact, about especially New Age ET Contact, about Palladians. I don't know. I don't really have anything planned for this show except to go over Project Bluebeam, some stuff out of Bill Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse, and maybe even elaborate a little more on Blue Avians, Palladians, even Zeta Talk, which we've talked about before, but it seems like we're picking up a lot of new listeners, and so I figured we'll go all the way back to the beginning, talk about ETs, what we've come to understand ETs to be, which we'll probably get into a little bit later in the show. The plan, what is Project Bluebeam? How has Project Bluebeam been tested in the past? Because it has been tested. And what was its original point? And then also, how is Project Bluebeam put into effect, and what is the point of Project Bluebeam? And I guess, I'll give you a quick spoiler alert. It kind of makes sense now, and it brings a whole new perspective in 2022, because in 2020, we had all of these lockdowns, and during that, we had Starlink, which was deployed while everybody was sitting at home. And you have to be really discerning, in my humble opinion, because if you're a believer in something, whether, like paranormal investigators, for example, one of my dear friends, Brent Thomas, he does a show called Paranormal Portal. I think it's youtube.com/paranormal portal. I definitely recommend you check him out if you like paranormal stuff. He's been on the show before. We've been on his show a couple times as well. But, the thing is, when you're a paranormal investigator or an extraterrestrial investigator or whatever, you have to be, in my humble opinion, your biggest skeptic. And when I look up at the sky, I always have to go through the deduction of, can it be this, can it be that, can it be this, can it be that, before drawing the conclusion that I've seen a UFO in the sky. And I've got to say, throughout all my time, I don't think I've ever seen a genuine UFO in the sky. And that is, once again, because I'm my biggest skeptic. If I believe in something, I will become the biggest skeptic. We did see a TR-3B Astra one time, which was really interesting. Sheree and I were fishing out in Dallas, and there was a lake that had like this barge that was open 24 hours, and we saw this thing hovering, and we decided to get in the car and follow it. And as we were following it, it seemed to go very, very, very slow, and then all of a sudden, boom, just disappeared like that. But a TR-3B Astra is the triangular UFOs that is most likely government craft. And so as we go through the broadcast, as we go through Project Bluebeam, and as we go through some of Bill Cooper's material as well, I want to do it through the mind of a skeptic, and also look at all the New Age ET ascension stuff that has come in the last several years, and what that transpired into. Go all the way back to the year 2000 when Zeta Talk was around too. So we might get into a little bit of that. First it was the Greys, Zeta Talk, and then it was the Palladians, and then it was the Blue Avians, and then it was the Arcturians, and all of them were going to come and save us from some coming big disaster, and all of this. And I came to the realization that nobody's going to save us except for ourselves. We can only save ourselves. But at the same time, it's really interesting because the other thing I wanted to get into is Agenda 21, which is now Agenda 2030, Agenda 21 was for the year 2021, and it was a global change, basically a new world order, where they use climate change to try to get rid of all of natural fuels and things like that, pretty much just to weaken all countries and superpowers, make people very poor, create a super rich class and a serf class, push veganism on everybody, and ultimately that got pushed back to the year 2030. So something happened in between the time of them originally putting out Agenda 21, which is, a UN document. It's not some kind of conspiracy theory or anything like that. It's a UN document. And that got changed to Agenda 2030. And this happened around the year 2016. What happened in the year 2016? Trump became president. So I think that he really pushed their agenda back, so much so that they had to rename their plan from Agenda 21 to Agenda 2030. However, as we covered Trump's speech from the last broadcast, there were a few things that he said that I did not like, and it rubbed me the wrong way. The way I see it, we have two paths that we can go down. This seems to be the path that's going to be the most beneficial for people. But I have said multiple times throughout the last year that I am very concerned about some kind of Handmaid's Tale type of scenario happening. And that's like a big liberal talking point right now. But it's something that I wonder if they're pushing so far left that people are begging for this, for the opposite. And when they do, they come right back in and do the complete opposite: morality police and all kinds of stuff like that. And when he mentioned execution for drug dealers, China style, I had to sit back and I had to reevaluate everything. Now, I'm not reevaluating my entire position because I am multidimensional, and that's one thing that I find in this arena, that a lot of people use new age truther stuff as escapism. And we got another comment from somebody, I think the name was Ashley, if not, forgive me, but you know who you are. And they said, I really appreciate watching your channel because all the truthers are just stuck in one dimension. And you guys are, you guys see 360 degrees. And that, I took that as a really big compliment because people are recognizing that we're not in a box. We're not in a new age box. We're not in a truther box. We're not in any of those boxes. We've gotten out of all the boxes and we're just thinking for ourselves. But as the matrix resets itself, everything seems to be coming full circle. And as it comes full circle, everything is connected, both on the geopolitical stage and also on the inner stage as well. And so it's really important, in my opinion, to keep an eye on what's going on, both on the geopolitical stage and also within our own vicinity. And I think it's important to not get stuck in that escapism mentality of, oh, well, it's all about 5D and higher consciousness and so on and so forth, because that's how we got into this situation to begin with, is everybody was so stuck looking at all this fake stuff that was going around, the Palladians and Arcturians and, all this new age, love and light. Oh, don't look at the darkness. Don't do this. Don't do that. That everything just kind of happened the way it is. And we got sucked into this vortex of being controlled. And in 2020, everybody just shut everything down and didn't question anything. And I wonder if 2020 was a test. I said this at the beginning of 2020, during 2020, during 2021 as well, and now again in 2022. Was it a test to see what would happen if there was an alien invasion, or if there was a staged alien invasion, as Project Bluebeam is, or if they created some kind of threat like that? How would the world respond? And I think that we saw exactly how the world will respond. They would respond with complete and total submission. They would start policing each other. The sheep would police each other, which is exactly what we saw. And they would do exactly as they're told, which is heartbreaking. I called it the Egyptian weighing of the heart ceremony of the human consciousness. And unfortunately, the human consciousness as a whole, I'm not talking about you and me, I'm not talking about the BTV tribe, I'm not talking about those who are in the know, I'm talking about just human consciousness as a whole failed big time in 2020. And it's interesting because we're seeing court case after court case after court case after court case of people who were standing up for their rights, like this really big case in Michigan where there was a restaurant owner, and she's on a lot of videos that I see on YouTube. And this is, when Karens face the judge, when Karens go out, and they're calling these people Karens. And she went into court. She refused to play the game. She stood on her rights, and the judge was just acting completely and totally unconstitutional. And they're calling her a Karen, not the judge. They're calling her a Karen. But what happened is that the Michigan Supreme Court ruled that she was in the right the entire time, and everything was unconstitutional. And there's more and more and more cases coming out where the Supreme Court's coming out and saying that people who were standing on their rights during 2020 and 2021 were acting completely constitutionally, and the states were not acting constitutionally. But it's a very few handful of people, unfortunately. And rather than these people who have put their businesses and lives on the line to stand up for not only their own rights, but for our rights and your rights out there being applauded, they're being called Karens on the internet. And I think that's why, everybody's freaking out about Twitter right now, because Twitter was one of the biggest platforms for them to push their propaganda. And as I said before, the $8 a month for the blue dot thing, it really, really, really makes it difficult for people who are running bot farms. Because if you've got 1 million bots and you've got to pay $8 a month to get a blue check mark, that's $8 million of operating costs now that you've got on your little bitty bot farms. And that's not to mention this big thing that just happened, the cryptocurrency thing. We pulled out of crypto about a year ago because something just didn't feel right. What was it called, Sherry? XTF? XFT or something like that?
I don't remember now.
Here.
I don't even remember now, actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We've been looking at this all day, but...
I'm sorry, guys. TXF?
TXF. Okay. Yeah, TXF. And this was a big Ponzi scheme, like bigger than Bernie Madoff. I mean, this was huge. And basically what the deep state / Dems have been doing is they've been taking taxpayer money, passing all these spending bills, $7 trillion, pushing that over to Ukraine. Ukraine was then sending the money back to, what was the name of the company again?
TXF or XTF.
XTF. Hold on, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
let
guys.
me pull this
I need to pull it up again. Because you told me to look up several things.
FTX.
FTX.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know why we can't remember that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember that either. So FTX. So they were funneling the money back. Ukraine was then funneling back to FTX. Then FTX was funneling the money to Democratic candidates. And then all of a sudden, boom, billions of dollars just disappeared overnight.
Of taxpayer money,
of not only of taxpayer money, but people who had invested in this company.
Exactly.
And so now this is a problem, reaction, solution scenario where not only did they use it to be able to funnel money and launder money. As we said, Ukraine is like a big money laundering operation, and that's one of the states that launders money, and same as North Korea, which is why they can't have North Korea becoming a free state and Ukraine and so on and so forth. But anyways, all of that is happening. And so now that the Republicans have the House, there's going to be investigations. They have subpoena power, so on and so forth. And they're going to figure out how to get to the bottom of all of this. But it's all coming out and it's all imploding. And as it implodes, and this is how it all ties in together to Bluebeam and everything like that. As it all implodes, I don't think that they are just going to just sit back and just let everything just, be transparent, let everything be known. I think they're going to do something. They're going to do a World War III, or they're going to do a staged alien invasion, or they're going to do something of the sort to try to bring in some kind of big catastrophe. And as we were watching earlier, Sheree, you had said something. It was some congressman talking or something like that from the left, and it was very similar to what happened pre 9/11. Which was, we're not going to war with any foreign country unless we're attacked.
No, actually, that was right before Pearl Harbor.
Oh, was that before Pearl Harbor? Yeah,
right before Pearl Harbor. And the president, Truman, said, we will not engage in any foreign wars except in case of attack.
Well, they said the
except
same thing.
in case of attack.
They said the same thing before 9/11.
Before
as well.
9/11, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it all ties in together,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. And that's the thing. That's why, in my humble opinion, we have to be multidimensional.
Right.
We can't just, worry about higher consciousness. We can't just worry about all that. We can't be stuck in the political either. We've got to be able to see things from a 360-degree perspective and a multidimensional perspective.
Absolutely.
And that is what is beyond the veil. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. There's a reason for it.
The energies are completely and totally off.
They're insane right now.
Yeah.
So
kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And once again, I think this show is going to be Patreon exclusive. I might leave it on YouTube for a couple of days, but I think I'm going to put it on Patreon
I think
as
so.
exclusive. So if you're seeing this, the show is about 2 hours, and we talked about so many different things, from Palladians to Arcturians to Project Bluebeam to the documents behind Bluebeam, tying it into politics, tying it into Ukraine and everything that's happening in 2020 and everything that happened in 2020. I mean, this show really tied in a lot of things, even going all the way back to like 2005, 2006, tying things in from way back then and exposing this huge plan that is the New World Order takeover. So
Exactly.
love ya and see you even further.
Beyond the veil. Love you guys.
Hey everyone, Chris Geo here. Just wanted to remind you that if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably getting a condensed version of the show. A link is going to pop up here on the left, taking you straight to patreon.com/BTB Tribe, where you can get the full shows. It's as little as $3 a month. And the reason is it helps us to overcome the YouTube censorship, the shadow banning, and also stay in touch with our BTB Tribe. See you there at Patreon. Love ya.